Surviving a major illness is not the end of the story. It's really the beginning of a whole new financial challenge. So every single year, thousands of Canadians survive cancers, strokes, heart attacks. But recovery takes months or years, and your bills don't stop. Critical illness insurance provides a tax-free lump sum safety net so that you can recover without worrying about your cash flow. Hi, my name is Laurent Munier with Safe Pacific Financial, and we help high-income professionals, we help business owners to build financial resilience with tools like critical illness insurance. So in today's video, you're going to learn how does critical illness insurance work in Canada, what does it cover, and why it's one of the smartest ways that you can protect your future. So what is critical illness insurance in Canada? Well, it's a specialized insurance product that provides a one-time tax-free lump sum payment if you're diagnosed with a covered serious condition. And this includes things like cancer, stroke, heart attack. And as long as you survive one of those things, the critical illness insurance pays out. So this is unlike traditional health insurance that reimburses medical costs or disability insurance that replaces monthly income. Critical illness insurance gives you unrestricted use of that cash to do whatever you need if you've got one of these medical crises. Now, here's what really makes it valuable. So it gives you that money so that you can cover your mortgage or your rent while you focus on healing. It can replace your lost income so you're unable to work for weeks or for months or years. And it allows you money to access medical treatments that may not be covered by your provincial healthcare or your other types of insurance. So you may be able to go out of country to get some sort of specialized care or to see a specific doctor. It allows you money to hire a caregiver to support your family during recovery. It allows you to pay for transportation or home modifications or private rehab. It protects your business cash flow if you're self-employed or if you're incorporated. And really, it helps to relieve financial stress so that the recovery isn't disrupted by money worries. So if you do get one of these things, and usually critical illness insurance will cover like 25, depending on the company, anywhere from like 22 to 26 named illnesses, of which you don't want any of those. But usually with all of those things, cancer, strokes, heart attacks, the number one thing that the doctor will tell you is to reduce stress. You don't want to have stress as you're getting better from these things. And what is one of the number one stressors for Canadians? Money. So having that tax-free lump sum allows you to take the money stress off and focus on getting better. And this type of insurance is really, really important if you are a business owner or if you're a high-income professional or self-employed. So you might not have access to like a workplace benefits or EI or other income replacement options. So you do need to take care of yourself. You do need to have critical illness. So at its core, the critical illness is really about giving you financial resilience. It gives you flexibility. It gives you freedom of choice so that you can focus on the health and recovery and you don't have to focus on the bills that are piling up. So you can think of it kind of as a cash safety net for life's most terrible curveball. So what does critical illness insurance cover? So it's really designed to provide financial protection when you have a serious health diagnosis. So most providers offer coverage for, like they have a list of these medical conditions that really will significantly impact your ability to work. It'll severely impact your ability to earn an income or to run your business or to maintain your lifestyle. And some of the most common covered critical illnesses are cancer. So most forms of malignant cancers. Another one is heart attack, including any sort of myocardial infarction. Strokes, which could cause permanent neurological damage. Coronary artery bypass surgery. So this is, again, due to your heart, and these are for blocked arteries. Major organ transplants, hearts, lungs, livers, kidneys. Kidney failure, typical chronic, irreversible conditions. Multiple sclerosis, so progressive multiple sclerosis or relapsing. Parkinson's, again, none of these things you want, including any sort of advanced stages that will impair your daily functions. ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, so this is a rapidly progressive neurodegenerative condition, or Alzheimer's or other types of dementia that have significant cognitive decline. It even covers severe burns where, you burn yourself in it and you're in a terrible situation and you need time. Or paralysis, which they will describe as loss of use of 2 or more limbs. So depending on the insurance company, they could also have other things like brain tumors, loss of limbs, loss of speech, occupational HIV. We do this a lot for doctors and nurses. Anemia, deafness. So most Canadian insurance will have some sort of covered option. So you could even get ones that are just for what they call a basic plan. So it'll cover 3 to 5 of these major illnesses. So out of all of these ones that I've talked about 80% of claims are like the top 4. So cancer, stroke, heart attack, and coronary artery bypass surgeries. That is the majority of the claims. And then everything else fills out the other 20%. Most plans will cover around 25 conditions. Industrial Alliance has a cancer plan, so it just covers cancers. And then you could have an enhanced plan, which you could add more things. So it could cover up to 30 different illnesses. And then a couple of companies offer what's called a child critical illness policy. So this would cover everything that we've talked about, plus some childhood things, say like autism. So again, we work with the top rated Canadian insurance providers that provide critical illness insurance. So this includes all the big companies, Canada Life, Sun Life, RBC, Manulife, Industrial Alliance, BMO. And really what we want to do there is we want to find the best coverage that fits your personal situation. It fits your professional situation. It fits your budget. And we can help you to compare the coverage options, how each company has the definitions of their illnesses, your waiting periods. Some of them have what's called a return of premium feature. So if you don't claim on it for X amount of years, you could get all of your money back. And then also depending on how old you are. So some companies might be better for depending on your age. And then when you're working with us and we're going through all the different companies, all the different plans, you really can feel confident that you're choosing the most comprehensive, the most reliable coverage that's available for your specific situation. Now, like who should do this? Who should consider critical illness insurance? This is not just for people that have pre-existing health concerns. It's really a financial planning tool for any Canadian who wants to protect their income, who wants to protect their business, their lifestyle, their family from the financial impact of a serious illness. Really important if you're self-employed or you're incorporated. So if you own a business or you're incorporated, so this would be doctor, dentist, lawyer, consultant, accountant, different trades, you likely don't have a traditional group benefits plan. So this means that if you suffer a major illness, there's no employer plan to cover your salary, your sick leave, or your health recovery expenses. And so critical illness insurance bridges that gap and it gets you those tax-free funds to use however you need without draining your business cash flow for emergency savings. So also, if you are the primary income earner in your family, so if you're the main breadwinner, critical illness could disrupt everything, right? Like it could really screw up everything. So this would include all of your monthly bills, your mortgage payments, your paying for kids' soccer or private school, or your car payments. All of these things now are at risk. So this insurance provides that lump sum benefits that lets your family maintain financial stability while you recover, even if you can't work for months or years. If you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur and you're running your business, those responsibilities don't stop if your health takes a hit, right? So critical illness insurance gives you those options to maybe you're going to hire temporary staff. You want to keep paying your rent and your utilities. You want to keep paying your suppliers. You need to cover loan payments or your lines of credits. And you want to avoid having to sell assets or shares in a rush or in like a panic. If you're a homeowner or a business owner that has significant debt, so if you have a large obligation like a mortgage or a commercial property loan, a business line of credit, or sort of any personal guarantees on any sort of debt, then becoming seriously ill could lead to default. It could lead to credit damage. It could lead to asset loss. So this tax-free payout from the critical illness policy can help you to stay current with payments, even if you don't have active income and you're laying in bed for 2 years. If you're seeking private or alternative medical care, this is really important. And actually, some people come to us specifically for this. So Canada's public healthcare system covers a lot of stuff. Specialists, diagnosis, medications, potentially some other types of treatment. But if you want to go international, you want to go to the US to see a specific doctor who only works at a certain hospital, these come with high out-of-pocket costs. If you want alternative medicine that's not covered by your MSP or whatever your provincial healthcare is called in your province, critical illness coverage gives you that freedom. It allows you to travel for faster or better treatment. It allows you to access out-of-country procedure. It allows you to pay for medications that are not covered by provincial plans. It allows you to hire in-home care or therapy services without having to wait on a waiting list. What doesn't get talked about a lot is actually kind of surprising. One of the biggest expenses that people use critical illness insurance to pay for is actually family reunification. So say you live here in Vancouver, but your family is from Calgary. This allows your mom to come and fly and stay with you, and you can now pay for this. Or things that don't get talked a lot about, if you want to park at the hospital all day, it's $40. And if you have to be in the hospital for 4 weeks, well, that's $40 a day in parking times 4 weeks. And maybe you also then need to be eating takeout food, but it needs to be specialized takeout food and organic only. So like every meal now costs you $30. These expenses add up fast. Having that lump sum payout of cash lets you pay these things without adding stress, without adding financial stress to the situation. Even healthy, high-income Canadians need to talk about critical illness insurance, right? And if you're healthy today, it's the best time to actually get it because it's very difficult to get critical illness insurance if you're not healthy. So this is the Canadian Cancer Society statistics. 1 in 2 Canadians will develop cancer sometime in their lifetime. So heart disease, stroke are also leading causes of disability and death in Canada. Without a critical illness policy, even if you've got a really high income before, you may need to dip into retirement savings. You may need to sell assets. You may need to pause your business operations. You may need to take on debt just to get by. So we can help you to design a custom critical illness insurance plan that aligns with your situation, with your goals, with your business structure, and your overall financial strategy, including your retirement plan. And how much do you need? So choosing the right amount of coverage is also super important, but it's a very personal decision. There's no right or wrong answer to this, but it really should reflect the financial impact of a serious illness, that you could have on your life, on your business, or your family. Most people know somebody that's had cancer. Ask them how much it cost to have cancer, right? The provincial medical system covers a lot of it, but there's a lot of stuff that's not covered. And it really depends on how long does it take you to get over it. So some people have the good cancer and it's done in 6 months. Some people are laid out for 2 years. The bills don't stop. And in certain situations, the bills actually increase because now you need more things to pay for your life. If you want to know how much critical illness insurance do you need, ask somebody who's gone through it. How much does it cost them? Generally, rule of thumb, what we recommend is that you replace your income for 1 or 2 years, right? So most of these things that we've been talking about is going to take you out for a year or two. So if you make $100,000 a year, you should have $100,000 or $200,000 of coverage. This can give you breathing room to recover without having to rush back to work because you need the money. Some of the things that you want to make sure get covered is obviously your living situation, your mortgage or your rent. You need to pay for groceries. You need to pay for utilities. Those bills don't stop. If you have car payments or transportation, if you have other insurance premiums, if you have other household costs, if you have child care costs or like costs for your kids, maybe they're taking piano lessons or something that you have to pay for. Maybe you have aging parents. So it's not only just taking care about your kids, but maybe you also have to take care of your parents. So you'd want to increase your benefit accordingly. And again, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer to how much critical illness insurance you need. If you have even $50,000 of critical illness insurance, that's better than having $0 of critical illness insurance. But we do talk to some people and we say, okay, yeah, you should have $250,000 of critical illness insurance. And they look at you and they're like, no, I want $1 million, because they know, or they've witnessed somebody go through it and they know that these things are expensive, especially if you want to go and get treatment that is not part of your provincial healthcare system, because those things can get really expensive really fast. Another thing too, we work with a lot of business owners. So business overhead and business debt obligations are super important to cover and can be really expensive. So if you're a small business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're incorporated, you're a professional, you should factor in your business expenses. So this is your lease or your commercial mortgages. This is staff wages. This is any sort of loan payments or equipment payments. This is other insurance utilities, paying for your professional licensing fees or your professional liability. Your business shouldn't collapse because of a temporary health issue. And so having the right policy in place makes sure that it doesn't. Medical travel is also super expensive and usually it's out of pocket. So even though Canada has a public health system, right now, if you watch the news, there's really long wait times for diagnostics and for seeing specialists. There's limited access to cutting edge treatments. A lot of medications are not covered by provincial drug plans, and costs for private clinics or rehabilitations are also not covered. So we have clients that choose to go to the US where, maybe you have to wait 3 months to get a diagnosis here in Canada, and you call somebody in the US and they're like, we can see you next week, we can see you tomorrow. So this lump sum critical illness benefit gives you that freedom and flexibility to go get care wherever you need on your schedule without having to wait on a waiting list. And so the typical coverage amounts that we see, so on a low end, and actually this might be if you have a group benefits plan, if you have an employer plan, there's usually some sort of critical illness benefit on there. And even without seeing your plan, I can tell you right now, it's probably $25,000 or $50,000. So this is a basic support, minimal expenses. But again, it's better than having zero. A lot of people with critical illness insurance are getting between $100,000 to $200,000. And this is a really common amount. And this is like our most kind of sold policies. 200,000 plus, generally for higher income earners or people who have a higher overhead. If you're a business owner, families that have a greater financial responsibility. So maybe, your house is expensive and like your expenses for the house is $15,000, $20,000 a month. Well, like that goes really quickly. So there's no one size fits all answer to this, but getting the right amount of protection makes the difference between being stressed about money and not being stressed about money. Now, how much does critical illness cost? Again, like with all insurance, it really depends on your age, depends on your health, gender plays a role, smoking status really affects it, the coverage amount that you're getting will affect it, and the term length. Are you getting this coverage for 10 years, 20 years? You can get what's called permanent critical illness, which is until your age 100. Actually, to the age 100, that's the type I have. So I have critical illness till age 100 because I know the statistics that, I'm probably going to claim on it. I hope that never happens, but probably it's going to. Also depends on the type of policy, right? Where you can get different types of enhancements. You can get what's called return of premium. So if you don't claim on it for a certain number of years, you can get all your money back. So I'll just give you a quick example. A 35-year-old non-smoker, you could get policies anywhere from $50 to $150 a month for, $50,000 to $100,000 of coverage. So it's affordable. We shop the market. What we'll do is, if you're working with us, we would get a hold of your situation and we'd figure out kind of what do you need. And then we'll go to the different carriers and run quotes to get the best pricing for you and to get the best contract terms so that you get the right coverage in place with the right company. And what does this process look like? So it's really not that hard. So we review your situation, we'll figure out how much coverage you need, and then you complete a health questionnaire or an application, right? We're going to ask you a bunch of health questions. Depending on the amount of insurance that you're trying to get, or depending on your age, you might also need to do a medical exam, like go give blood or pee in a cup. Once it's approved, the policy is active, you're covered. We'll give you the actual policy. We take care of all the paperwork so that, you don't really have to do too much. After that, we do everything. I talked a little bit about return of premium. So let me get into that a little bit more. So some people really like it. Some people really don't. But if you don't make a claim on your insurance policy, you can get all of your premiums back tax-free after a certain number of years, or if the policy expires. So say you have a policy for 20 years and you don't use it or you don't claim on it, you can cancel the policy and get all of your money back. So that turns these policies into like a forced savings. Personally, on mine, I don't have that because I think that in those years, if you're 35 now, like the example, and you wait 20 years, you're going to be 55. Well, you're way more likely to have a heart attack at 55 than you are at 35. So you're canceling the policy when you need it the most. That's my thought process on it. Other people really like the fact that you can set up the insurance and that if you don't use it, you can get all your money back. And it's sort of like a forced savings. There's no growth or anything like that. Like they're not going to give you more than your money back, but you will get all your money back. Now, how does this fit into your financial plan? So the way that we structure financial plans, the base layer, I guess is what you would call it, of your financial plan is your insurance. So making sure that you have protection in place. This is critical illness insurance, disability insurance, and life insurance. The next layer is your savings, your short-term stuff, your emergency fund. If you're incorporated, this is your corporate cash to pay, like your operating cash. Then the third layer is growth. So this would be things like your investments, your real estate, expanding business. And then the next layer is getting into the more sophisticated stuff like your tax and estate planning, your strategies, setting up trusts, holding companies, or insurance-based planning, like if you see our other videos. But critical illness insurance really is in this base core part, the protection layer, especially if you've got high expenses, you're a business owner, you're a professional, and your lifestyle really depends on your ability to work. Actually, a lot of people who buy critical illness insurance are the people that see the effects of people having strokes and cancers and heart attacks. So people who work in the medical field, doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, or occupational therapists, like people who help you recover. One of the physiotherapists that we work with is a client of ours, and she said that she's like, I know who has insurance because when I tell them to come back and see me every 3 days or every week or whatever the plan is, the people who have insurance say, yeah, no problem, I'll be there. The people who don't have insurance are like, how much is that going to be? Can we do it every 2 weeks instead of every week? And then they're starting to negotiate on. And it's like, you're negotiating on your recovery. Take the financial stress out, cover it for $100 or a couple $100 a month, and you never have to worry about that. So really, nobody expects to get sick. But if you do, you want options, and you don't want to have to drain your savings. You don't want to have to drain your retirement income, and you don't want to have to go into debt to cover this stuff. Critical illness insurance gives you that freedom to focus on to recovery and not to have to focus on your finances. So if you're a professional, you're an incorporated business owner, and you want to see what kind of coverages that you can qualify for, what does numbers look like, what does premium costs look like, go to our website, safepacific.com. You can fill out a contact form. There's tons of buttons on the site that'll get you right to us. You can even book straight into our calendar to schedule a discovery meeting with us, and we'll set up a consultation. We want to find out more about your situation. We want to find out more about your goals and concerns, about your income, about your debts, about your expenses, so that we can put together the right type of policy, the right type of numbers for you that fits your situation. One of our values is no pressure, no rush. So if you're contacting us, don't worry that somebody's going to give you a hard sell. We don't have any of those people working for us at all. We really do operate on that philosophy of no pressure, no rush. So if you feel like I added some value to your day, if you got something out of today's video, then please, I'm going to ask you a favor. Super easy. Do the things the robots like. Make the algorithm know that you like this video so that it'll share with more people. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you have any questions, you can leave comments under the video, or you can message us directly. If you leave comments under the video, I reply to those things myself, and I'll make sure that I get you the right answer for whatever you're looking for. That's it for me today. I'll see you next time.